So we are here from Disability Artists Network, or Center for Independent Living. We will go over all of that, what that means in later slides, but me and Melissa are happy to be here and happy you all came to hopefully learn something. Hopefully. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Matt Coletti. I'm an independent living coordinator for Disability Arts Network. I've only been doing it for a little over 4 months, so I'm kind of new to the job, but I've been here at the conference as a youth, and I've also presented at the conference with peers. So I used to do, who knows who Katie Smith is? Who knows Katie? Everybody knows Katie. I love Katie, but she's I presented with her, and yeah, so now I'm doing the same thing with Dawn. So I'll let Melissa kind of introduce herself.
So my name is Melissa Allen, and first and foremost, I'm a parent. My child has a hidden genetic disability, and it changed my life. I had one life before a child with disability, a different life after. When our family bumped up against a system we didn't understand, I made it my mission to understand that system. And now I work in that system to help other families down that pathway. So that's a little bit about who I am.
They want us to use the mic. Do we know where the microphone is? Oh, the facilitator had the mic?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, just move over there. So, do you want to reintroduce who you are for the camera?
I think we're good.
Okay. So, Disability Arts Network, what are we? What do we do? Serving as the Center for Independent Living for Allegheny, Armstrong, Beaver, Butler, Lawrence, Marshall, and Westmoreland counties. So we serve those 7 counties. So you live in those 7 counties, we can help you out. Or there is a center assigned to every county. So if you let it know that you want to know who your center is, we will surely tell you and help you, guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, there are 17 centers for independent living in the state of Pennsylvania, determined by territory. So the borders are firm as what centers serve. So
empowering people with disabilities to live independently as they choose. My life, my choice. That's our motto, but I think that motto is important. My life, my choice. Nobody else chooses how independently I want to live. I choose everything about my life, and I try to everybody that I work with, I try to teach them that they are the power is theirs in their future. So it really, that motto means a lot to me, and it should mean a lot to you. So we're gonna have a little fun today. I like to get, yes.
I was answering one of the questions on the board. What does SIL stand for? Center for Independent Living.
Oh.
I was listening to you from earlier.
You get a candy. You get a candy. You get a mint.
that's all right.
When I present, I like to be interactive. I think it makes the time go by, it makes it a little bit more fun. So there's going to be a series of question slides that I put in, and if you answer them, you will get a mint, and Melissa will come around and give you a mint. So So what is the shield? The young lady had already kind of talked about that. CIL stands for Center for Independent Living. What are the functions of a shield? Does anybody know what a shield does?
Make sure that, like, in case if you're like, if you want to live independently, you have your own choice. Like, no one else has to make your own choices. You have to be independent, like advocate for yourself.
Yeah. So that my life, my choice, that's really at the core of what we do. How do shields make a difference? How do what we do make a difference in the community? Anybody in the back?
Let me get the microphone to them so that we can hear it on the recording.
You're empowering people to be their own self-advocates.
Yep. Yep, and we're going to talk about self-advocacy and why it's important in later slides, so thank you. Center for Independent Living. So shields are consumer-controlled, community-based, quad disabilities, non-residential, private, non-profit agencies that are designed to operate within the local community by and for individuals with disabilities and provide a way of independent living services. I know that is a big, long explanation, but that's the Wikipedia version of what we do. Constrained by county borders, so the counties that we serve have borders, and we're constrained to where we can provide services or where we can't. But like I said earlier, every county that you live in, I don't care if it's by Philadelphia, I don't care if it's Butts County, they all have a Center for Independent Living, and they all do the same or similar things. So whatever county you live in, you have a Center for Independent Living. You might not know that, but you do. Must be 51% staffed by a person with a disability, and 51% of the board must have a disability. So they're ran by people with disabilities that know something about being disabled. So you get the interesting thoughts and interesting opinions and how we believe someone to do. It's figured out by a person with a disability that has a lot of lived experience that you can't go to Westchester or Edinburgh to figure out. Dawn is 80% staffed and 100% board of a person with a disability. Not to toot our own horn, but I think that is really impressive that we at Dawn go above and beyond. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm very proud, and Melissa can talk about that, but I'm very proud that we do that. So, SEALs provide 5 core services. So we provide 5 services that we will go through one-on-one. So one is information and reform. So allows consumers to use networks of resources and partners to support them in everyday living. It sits on who to contact on topics such as housing, advocacy, reputation, employment, and assistive technology. The networking approach. What do I mean by the networking approach? Can anybody, you get a candy if you answer the question.
We've got one over here.
Like goes around every costume stuff.
Okay, yeah. So we all have our own networks of people and places that we know. And I think it's so important to build your network for your individual person. So us doing this information before, we might not be able to help you, but we can guide you on who can help you. We don't do everything we can. We're only a staff of 11, right?
There's 12 of us.
12? There's only
7.
12 of us, so we can only do so much. But what we can't do, we will help figure out a way for you to get it done. So that's what information we forward all about. And the dude, and that you handshaking, we forward you to somebody else. Yes.
We are actually, if we didn't think about it, we are networking right now.
We are. That was this whole, this whole 2 days is about networking with individuals. Last night I saw people dancing at they let me into the block party even though I'm an adult, but I said I was 13 and they believed it. So they let me in, and I saw people dancing and cutting the work. I know people don't use that anymore, but I love that phrase. So,
Well, and with regards to information and referrals, so I caught a lot of you at the doorway handing out what I call information. If you didn't get it, I have more. I'll catch you on the way out. Those are just tools for your toolbox. As a parent, I believe you can't ever have enough tools in your toolbox. So, you know, they're quick reference sheets, getting kids ready for transition and different categories. So, you know, a Center for Independent Living prides itself on giving people accurate, timely information and guidance towards reducing barriers.
skill training. So this is the second cold shoulder that we provide. Provides by shield to such persons in achieving their independent living goals. Examples might be money management, basic computer skill, cooking, how to use public reputation, resume building. And this is a quote that kind of I came up with and kind of something that I think about when I work with individuals. Anything I do independently helps me with independent living. So you think anything that you can do independently, that I can teach you how to do independently, translates into independent living. Being able to use a cell phone independently translates to independent living. So with my consumers, I do a lot of maybe things that you might not think of, but my motto is anything you learn how to do by yourself, great. And that's my job, I think. Peer support, one-on-one, group setting. My story helps your story. Learn from each other. So, we were getting back to Katie Smith from Peel, that you all know. Oh, Katie!
Katie's in the room.
Katie, give a round of applause for Katie Smith. Katie, you can answer the question. I'm glad you're here. So me and Katie play wheelchair rugby together. AKA Motorball. And first I want to say Katie knows that, but she's a lot better at it than I am. So she's a better teammate, a better player, and she's smarter, which doesn't take much.
But you hit harder.
And, yeah, I do.
Max hits a lot harder than I do.
I do hit harder. But one of the peer supported, Katie, I think the team is great because we all learn from each other, not only on the rugby team, how to play wheelchair rugby, but also just how to navigate life. I mean, we all learn.
I agree. I learned how to I learned how to use a wheelchair when I was in rehab, in outpatient and inpatient rehab after my spinal cord injury. But I learned how to live life in a wheelchair through my peers, through showing up at rugby practice. I didn't drive, and I had cohort. Some of my teammates drove their own cars, and I was like, oh, well, that doesn't look so bad. And they showed you how to transfer your chair in. And actually, one of my teammates gave me an old chair of his that was smaller than the one I was in so that I could get it into the car and start driving. And then there are teammates that are married and have kids and all these things, and things that I couldn't really conceptualize doing after having a spinal cord injury. And so really, I learned how to live life through my peers. And Ev, would you agree that that's been your experience?
I learned how to live. Actually, Katie, I learned a lot from you, and you were that person for me. You were like the you were like the first person in a wheelchair I met 2 years ago at this conference when I was newly disabled, and I looked up to you so much and still do. And you have been like a huge catalyst for me, like doing anything that I do.
All right, back to Melissa and Max.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. That was a very sweet thing to say. So peer support, you learn from each other. We have to learn from one another. Yes.
I have a quick question. So, I know that I've been helping my mom and pushing her in a wheelchair, but I know I've learned that Penn State main campus is not very handicap accessible. And, did you guys also learn from being here that, honestly, we need to, figure out, did you guys figure out other entrances that one person didn't know, or anything like that? Because that, I would say, is peer support completely, in my opinion.
It is.
It is. So this is the third thing that we did. Transition, more to come. Do. So the PowerPoint, I'm sorry that we're kind of talking about us and what we do, but the next set of slides is all about resources and things like that. So transition will come. Advocacy is the most important thing. That's why I put it in beautiful stars. So it starts with education. Shields are dedicated to assisting consumers in knowing and expressing their rights with the goal of promoting systematic and community changes that will benefit the entire life. Teach consumers how to advocate for themselves. And we will talk about self-advocacy in a little bit. So questions, and if you get the question, you get a beautiful mint. So what is transition? How about you in the way back?
Alrighty, so the quick and easy answer to that, transition is moving from high school to college.
Yeah. So, that definitely transition. Transition is basically you're at point A and you want to get to point B. I mean, it's that simple. You know, I don't like when people make it so complicated, but it's getting from point A to point B and figuring it out how to navigate, how to get to that point. So how do we transition into adulthood? What are some ways? Yes.
I also wanted to piggyback on your statement of going from high school to college, Savannah. I know that I had a very tough time from 8th grade to 9th grade. It was like the biggest jump that I think I could have done through the school that I was in. So it definitely does start, I think, since you, like, before school even, like, you have to transition into, like, you, like, even as a, like, I don't remember when I was a baby, but going from not being able to move just to look at people and sit on your belly, now you're going to be having to, like, you want to move, you want to get somewhere.
Yeah.
You have to transition and try to learn how to crawl. And then before you crawl, you have to walk. Like, you can't do that. Like, you can't walk before you crawl unless, well, I don't know anyone who has done that. But it definitely starts very early on before that. That's what I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm like,
We're going to focus on the transition from high school into adulthood here today in this session, but from a Center for Independent Living perspective, we cover all transition. Centers were founded on getting people with disabilities out of the nursing home, living in the community with the proper support. So for us, transition is wide open. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yep, very good. All right, so transition, let's look at transition. It can really happen at any age. Yes, today, this couple of days, we're focusing on youth transition, but I don't like to put transition into that box. Transition, I'm 26. And I just moved out of my apartment into my own, into my own apartment from my parents' house. So I'm not really transition age, but I transitioned 4 months ago with the new job. So it can happen at any age. Normal youth transition age in the state of Pennsylvania is 14 to 24. So that's the bulk of when your transition should happen. But like I said, it can happen at any age. If one of the shared core services is to help with transition, usually more independence, usually you're going towards more independence when you transition, moving out, going to college, and can be complex, especially with the disability. Any disabled person can tell you that. There's so many more hoops to jump through when you have a disability in anything, especially transition, that it makes it challenging. But that is why Centers for Independent Living exists, to help you through those hoops. So why does it matter? Why are we spending the whole 2 days on transition? Nearly 1 in 5 people have a disability in the U.S. Census Bureau reports. So you think about that, 1 in 5 of us have a disability. That's actually a pretty good, significant part of society.
Oh, and I see an error in our slide here for supplemental security income. It's changed since last year. It goes up sometimes with Social Security raises. So if you get SSI, $791 a month is going to be your maximum income. So we want people with disabilities to go to work because $771 is living below the poverty level. So we want to get people above that amount. So.
And really, I mean, it's hard to live independently on that much. You can't really do a lot, you know, that all that money is going towards your life. How are you going to take a vacation? How are you going to save for retirement? How are you going to do any, really, you can't do that much on that amount. So it's all about getting you to work, getting you off of Social Security, making your life better. Social Security disability income, SSDI, is based on your work history, yours or maybe your parents, and how you paid into the system can take many months to be approved. So that SSI is not SSDI. And it's important to know what you get, because it is important to know for services and things like that. So know your supports. It's important for a young person or old person with a disability to know who supports you in your life. Know who you can go to for anything. Know if you have a question on, I don't know, how do I drive? Do I go to Katie? Do I go to my parents? Do I go to the internet? Do I go to Google? Do I Google that? You know, figure it out. But it's important to know the difference between informal supports and formal supports. Informal supports are your family. Everybody has one, and hopefully they help you. Informal supports, a family friend, your best friend, it supports you. A personal friend. Your formal supports, your independent living coordinator, me. Your OVR counselor, everybody knows hopefully what OVR is, but I have a slide on what OVR is. A teacher, an aide, an attendant. So, my fourth grade teacher, who I love, texted me yesterday and said, "Good luck with your presentation." So, in that scenario, my formal support had turned into my informal support because she's not my teacher anymore. Katie.
You could really expand your informal supports as well to like think about where are the places that you frequent. When I was in college, I would go to my local library all the time, and so the librarians were really supportive of me and would like check in and make sure I needed anything, remind me that they were closing soon and I needed to get out. And so, like, or if you have a bus driver that you use all the time, like your informal supports can be so much more than what you would think of on paper.
And a lot of talk, I heard a lot at the sessions I was at about person-centered planning. Those would be the kind of people you would put on your person-centered planning team, your support network, whatever that looks like for you as an individual.
Thank you, Katie, thank you. Know your disability. We have to know our disability. I think that's one of the most important things to know. Know how it personally affects you and what you have to know your limitations. I know it's a very negative thing to talk about and a negative thing to think about, but everybody with a disability had limitations. I'm never going to walk on roofs, even though I kind of want to. I think it kind of be cool. But I had to accept that that's never going to be my thing. And I just had to accept that. And it might stink and it might make me sad, but it is what it is.
Well, and this is one of the things that's important for youth to be able to do themselves. When youth move on from school, they have to be able to ask for their own accommodations at college, ask for their own accommodations at work. That doesn't happen because today they're 18, they now can speak up for themselves. You have to build those skills. I built a really strong advocate in my house. My son controls his IEP. He's an 11th grader. And I have to be quiet because it is his plan and that's what I wanted. I built those steps in and it's his pathway. So sometimes parents, we have to learn to step back because we want our youth to launch and to know that and be able to understand that because that's how the real world works. So.
So practice the elevator pitch on how to explain your disability. Did anybody know, show of hands, who knows what the elevator pitch is?
Good, 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 good.
All right. We got some of you. I'm proud of you. So elevator pitch is pretend you're at the base floor of a hotel. And you need to get to the top floor to go to your room. And a very important person, like a future employer or a future mentor, walks into the elevator. How are you going to explain your disability by the time you get to the 25th floor? What is your pitch to them, and how are you going to explain yourself to them so that they can understand it? So it's important to practice that in the mirror. Just practice it in the mirror, and just a quick. Or if you are at a concert or a rally and somebody nods into you, how are you going to explain what your disability is and how it affects you in a very brief time frame? So this is the self-advocacy bonus round. So this is you might get 2 minutes if you answer this. So you are 13. Who decides if you take your medicine?
You have to. If
You.
want to feel better about yourself, and if it helps you function in the world you are living in, then you have to take that medicine, and you have to decide that. If you don't, you might feel side effects, and other people around you could, but you'll have the most regret on yourself if you don't take it.
Good.
So you have to learn how to take your own medication by trying to, maybe you are more of a person who likes to do it by each day of the week. Be able to have your medication in one of those pill things, or you set an alarm for certain times, or you do any number of things, because it just definitely depends on yourself to take your medicine. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We're gonna skip a few of these so we can
So
tell all the material.
you are
So-
21. You are 21. Who decides what accommodation you need for a job? Yes.
Right here, we have. Oh, yeah. There you go. Something right up front.
Is it on?
Yeah.
If you're 21, you need to get recommendation in your job, because you need to find a great job that's perfect for you and everything, and make sure you understand it, or find a great job that occupy yourself.
Good. We're gonna skip on advocacy, everything, advocacy. That was when I went into my interview, our CEO, Chris Lloyd, said to me, advocacy. He said it 3 times too. So what did advocate actually mean? So when you advocate, you speak, plead, or argue in favor of, to stand up for something. Advocacy is the application of pressure and influence on the people and institutions that have the power to give you what you want. So advocacy, you're speaking up for something you believe in. How does the difference between self-advocacy? Because in self-advocacy, you're advocating for yourself, not like a body. So self-advocacy, what is it and why is it important? The self-advocacy movement is, in basic terms, about people with disability speaking up for themselves. So when I go to a job or when I go to the store, the people that I work with or talk to didn't know me. They don't know what I need. They just don't know what I need to be successful. So being a self-advocacy, you're telling them exactly what you need. And I think you want to be specific. This is what I need and this is why. And sometimes you don't have to say why, but I like to explain it to them and maybe teach them something. It means that although a person with a disability may call upon the support of others, the individual is entitled to be in control of their own resources and how they are directed. More powerful coming from the person with a disability than the support. So what you need is more powerful coming from you as the person with the disability than, let's say, your mother explaining, going to college and explaining what you need to the office for student with disability there. It's more important that you say it because it's more power and it means more to them coming from you than somebody else. So questions, we are just going to do one in sake of time. What is OVR and what does it function? Who knows what OVR is?
I know. I was going to answer the first question.
Here you go.
Oh. No,
Yeah.
behind.
Oh.
Hello.
All right.
OVR is the function of OVR is like getting help for other people, like with disabilities, to get waivers, stuff like that, and find jobs in like helping them with their independence. It's just like you guys, what you guys are doing, but you guys are doing living and other things. But OVR is like helping people like find more like jobs and helping finding help with waivers and everything like that, and making sure they're safe and happy. And so are you guys.
Good.
Have a good magical day.
And we work with OVR a lot. We work together on some things that we need help with. Information and refer, right? We refer to them for stuff that we can't do, but they can provide. So OVR, this is just a snapshot of OVR. OVR shows people who have disabilities that present a substantial barrier to employment. So they're basically all about employment. So they think, what do you need to be employed? Do you need to learn how to drive? Do you need a job coach? Do you need to go through discovery? What do you need to be employed? Services are provided to individuals to prepare for, enter into, engage in, or retain employment. OVR has 21 district offices over Pennsylvania. Goal is to get people to join the workforce, can help pay for college or other needs to get a job, graduating, car miles, assistive technology, etc. So hashtag I want to work. Who had heard of that? Hashtag I want to work. Good fair number. All right. So I want to work is the employment forged. So Pennsylvania is the employment forged state. So employment forged means framework for system change that is centered on the premise that all citizens, including individuals with significant disabilities, are capable of full participation in integrated employment and community life. So the idea under employment forged state is, we're going to try employment forged. we're not gonna, you know, we have learned that people are more happy and people are more successful when they work versus going on SSI or getting some help. Not to downplay that, because that system can help you get to work, but we have found, the state of PA have found that people benefit not only financially, but they're happier in life, they're better individuals, they feel like they're contributing by being employed. So that is why the I Went to Work legislature made Pennsylvania employment for state. Advocates fled for the I Went to Work legislation in Pennsylvania. This is the expanding path to competitive employment with students with disabilities. House Bill 400, the new law ensures young people with disabilities to have access to part-time and summer jobs while in high school, preparing them to work as adults. So the old adage, get them early, it does apply to that. We want to get people experience it early. We want to get our hands on them early. We want to start molding them early, and so on and so forth. House Bill 1641, making Pennsylvania employment for state, what we already talked about. The Ticket to Work, a program with the Social Security Administration, free or voluntary program that help Social Security benefits go to work, get a good job that may lead to a career, become financially independent, all while they keep their Medicare or Medicaid, going to make you fully self-sufficient, so getting you off of SSI. Let agency claim your ticket for reimbursement for services. Only state VR agencies or employment networks can claim your ticket. So it basically, the thing is, everybody that gets SSI or SSDI has a ticket. Think of like a golden ticket, like the Willy Wonka. I love that movie. So everybody has a metaphorically golden ticket. So the Ticket to Work lets state VR or employment networks take that ticket and lets them get reimbursed from Social Security to get you off of Social Security. So the point of it is to get you off of Social Security, and it lets employment networks like Disability Arts Network, we are actually the employment network, to take your ticket and then get reimbursed for the services that we provide you. Employment networks. An employment network is an entity that enters into an agreement with the Social Security Administration to either provide or coordinate the delivery of services to Social Security disability beneficiaries. Can be an individual or partnership alliance or a consortium of organizations collaborating to combine resources to serve individuals. Serves include pre-employment services, benefit counseling, job sourcing assistance, job coaching, job development, and career counseling. If the employment network itself doesn't do it, remember, information and referral, we can refer you to somebody that can. So these are just some people to know that you might want to know in your school, in your community, to help you. Transition coordinator at the school district. Your school district should have a transition coordinator that can help you. Early reach coordinator for 9th and 10th graders, OVR. So OVR has a new initiative to get their hands on, get them early, like I said earlier, get their hands on to help people early. Your OVR counselor for 11th and 12th grade, you can't really see an OVR counselor until 11th and 12th grade. They won't actually be giving you benefits until then. But again, you can meet with your early reach coordinator, which is different than the OVR counselor, and your independent living coordinator with your SHIELD. So college, IEP did carry over in college but can be used as a guide. So when I was at Edinburgh University, I worked in the office for students with disabilities. So we were able to use the IEP as a guide, but it couldn't be fully used. Need to accommodate for with disability services office. Every college has one. They might be called a little bit different. Actually, Edinburgh's got changed. I don't know what they're called now, but it got changed. Students need to drive the process. A problem that came up every year when I was at Edinburgh is the student would go to college and they needed to come up with their own plan, but they couldn't facilitate their own plan. They couldn't, so the student needed to drive the process. Accommodations do not mean alter curriculum, even in trade school. Reasonable accommodation, so your accommodation needs to be reasonable.
Right, and so I want to make a comment because I've seen families get trapped by that. You know, in high school, kids may have an altered curriculum. That does not exist in college. You are responsible for the same amount of material and the same testing. Even at trade school, I helped a family once who had paid tuition for a trade school for their son to be an auto mechanic, knowing that he would not pass the certification exam at the end of the program. And they were not really cognizant of that when they went in, so it was a lot of wasted money. And you have to think about that from a consumer perspective. I don't want to go to a beautician who didn't get a cosmetology license. So when kids go to college, they are going to be required to meet the same curriculum criteria as anybody else. So I always want families to understand that it's not less work, it's not altered coursework. Accommodations are things like more time to take a test or more time on a project. It doesn't mean less projects or less work. So
we're going to skip the question slide, and then Melissa didn't talk about the laws.
Yeah, I just want to go briefly over some of the laws that support people with disabilities so we can spend a little time on questions too. Of course, the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, that's kind of where Centers for Independent Living started, and it is for kids. That's where 504s were born from, for families and students who didn't meet the criteria under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. They could get a 504 under the Rehab Act. It does require reasonable accommodations for students to participate in the general curriculum, and these are in the 504 plan. So just some highlights of that act. Americans with Disabilities Act. This serves everybody across all entities. So this is businesses, employers, anything that accesses. If the organization gets any source of public funding, they have to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. So it's protected classes. It's what gives folks access to get into businesses, you know, curb cuts and no entry doorways. So it's under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Fair housing, that's important because people with disabilities can have accommodations under fair housing. Pets, that's the first thing I want to say. If you have an emotional support animal, a landlord that advertises a property that says absolutely no pets cannot deny your support animal. Your support animal is there to meet a disability, and you do not have to have a certification for an emotional support animal. Yes, you do have to have certified if you're saying that it is a, you know, if it's a certified pet that is properly trained, but an emotional support animal is different. If you have a letter from a provider, any provider, doesn't even have to be a physician, somebody that knows you intimately, knows your disability intimately, and knows how the animal meets those needs, that is an accommodation that must be made. So we have a lot of people who, you know, they're turned away because of their emotional support animal. Cannot happen, and fair housing can help in that regard. So
this problem is a problem for a lot of people with disabilities. How to save money without going over or losing your benefits. So we're going to talk about 2 ways that you can do that. So how to save money, you can set up an ABLE account or a special needs trust. An ABLE account is set up by a person with a disability, parent or guardian. It's funded by anyone, for anyone who have become disabled prior to the age of 26. So this isn't for people that have acquired the disability later in life.
And just a side note, advocates are strongly working across the state to have that age 26 raised to 46. So that is currently in the legislation to better support, allow access for more people, especially disabled veterans coming home from service. So
the benefits say made spending decisions. So the benefits say the person with the disability makes all the decisions on where the money goes. Special needs was expression by the person with the disability or a parent or guardian. So same thing, it's funded by anyone who meets social security definition or having a disability. So this did not have an age restriction. The trustee makes spending decisions, not an individual. So one of the main differences is a special needs trust needs a trustee. You need to assign somebody to be the trustee. The individual that is benefiting from the money being put in that trust cannot be the trustee. So that's kind of a main difference. There's one other difference that I wanted to go over.
And I also, for families, for special needs trusts, a lot of families, I mean, the ABLE Act sort of came from families who couldn't go the special needs trust route. It takes an attorney, it takes a financial planner, it's very expensive. The ABLE Act kind of is pretty easy entry. But special needs trust, you do not have to have money to open it. A special needs trust can be written and created on paper and funded at your death. So for example, my husband and I, when we die, our assets are to be liquidated and our life insurance is to fund that trust. So there's no money in it today, it just exists on paper. But it is there to support our child after we're gone. So I always want families to understand, you don't have to drop a chunk of change in it. Your life insurance policy can make the trust the benefactor. So.
2 other really important things that you had to think about. Balance restrictions on the ABLE account is $100,000. With the special needs trust, there's no balance restrictions. So you could have $10 million, I wish, in my special needs trust, but you could have $10 million in that account, it doesn't matter. But with the ABLE account, there is a restriction. In the ABLE account, funds can be used on qualified expenses, including assistive technology, housing, basic living expenses, education, and transportation. Funds may be used for any expense that the trustee deems appropriate. So with the ABLE account, you have the right to spend that money any way you want, but that doesn't restrict you on things that you can spend the money on. In a special needs trust, you don't get to choose where the money is spent, but like with my special needs trust, I just tell my dad, hey, I need $2,000 for a vehicle modification. Can you give me the money? And he transferred it into my account. So it's all, I mean, the pros and cons, and that my next slide, pros and cons, it kind of what one fits you. So able account does not need a trustee. Money in able account can be only used on qualified expenses, but in special needs, you can spend it on everything, but remember the trustee is the one that decides that. And special needs trust had no balance cash. Like I said, $10 million you could put in the special needs trust, but I won't see that kind of money, so that depresses me. But, that's kind of it. So, is there any questions or comments?
So just one final comment to talk about students' IEPs. You know, there is a transition section on a student's IEP starting at the age of 14. It's really important that that section be thorough and complete. And one of my pet peeves is IEPs, and I've seen hundreds of them, when it comes to the independent living section and it says no needs at this time. Holy crap, the team is missing huge opportunities to have services in there. And I understand parents may say, oh, we don't need to live independently, my student's gonna live with me. Mom, Dad, what if you're hit by a bus this afternoon? You have got to start building those steps for your student because you don't know how long you'll be here. So that's a perfect section to add travel training. How does your student get around the community when they leave high school and there's no yellow bus anymore? If they're not going to drive, you need a plan B. Plan B can go in the independent living section. You can turn to your center for help filling out that section because it just, families lose such opportunity when it says, oh, there's no needs for independent living at this time. Yes, there are. You can build some in there. So, questions from anybody? You can ask whatever you like. I'm a parent. I'm pretty honest. Oh, yes. So I'll have more. If you didn't get a copy of the papers that I passed out, again, these are just transition resources. They're actually Pennsylvania Department of Education one-pagers, but all the things you shouldn't forget. And I believe in a packed toolbox. So these were just for the toolbox. So, anyone have any questions?
So let me add one more thing I want to ask. Who's in high school here? Okay, we have some. So, raise your hand if you go to your IEP meetings. And now raise your hand if you actively participate in your IEP meetings. Okay, very good. So when I started going to my IEP meeting before I learned about self-advocacy and everything, I used to tell my dad to schedule it in a class that I hated. So I got out of that class to go to a meeting. But around 10th or 11th grade, I started to lead my own meetings. So that's very important to do. Lead your own meetings and do it yourself. And I think the moderator had your code for you.